Alright, my first attempt of doing my Swivel hub rebuild, front bearings, and also had to change the CV on this side because it started to make a bit of noise. Stick around and check it out.
I came from the mud, there's dirt on my hands. Strong like a tree, there's roots where I stand.
Alright, so you got two ways to go. This goes in obviously with a flat surface there, so that's the actual seal there. Goes in this side facing. Bang him in there. Got my little punch. Line him up. Yep, she's all uniformed, she's all good. So while I'm in here, just going to put a big dab of MOLY grease in there. Alright, the next bit is to knock out the two bearing races. Yeah, there's little notches up on the top and on the bottom. All you have to do is get a punch through. Hold it on there and go from side to side. What we do here is we give these a very good clean up so you don't want anything in there. Okay, while the bearing races are out, it's a good idea to put the felts on. A little bit tricky, a little bit stiff. There we go. We'll put the metal backings on later on because of the they're in two pieces. Next bit is the rubber O-ring. You want that facing the felt, that little ridge. So it just pops on over like that. And last, the little metal gasket. You kind of pop him on like that and straighten him up. And just leave them hanging there. So what I like to do is, so I've got the race here, got the bearing here, got a little bag there with top written on it, just so I keep them matched. Pop him on. Alright, so I'm just banging in the bottom one. Of course, they're always a little bit hard. They're a little bit odd shaped. Okay, so now we're just packing the bearings. You want to grab a big clump of grease, grab the bearing and slowly work it in. You should see it come through. You see just down the bottom there, tell it to come through like Vegemite on sliders. You've got to do that all the way around. I'm trying to put the swivel on, so pop the bearing in. Would help if I put it in the right way. Sit him over the top like that. Line him up to where he needs to go. So pretty much you want to make sure your bearings are all lined up. You have to jiggle him a little bit. Okay, the camera battery went flat then, so what I've done is, I've done these up, put this on, put the cone washers in and done them up. Done the same at the top here. Now the top, torque spec is 96.1. I'm just going to torque them down. This actually does your preloading on your bearings. So you do these evenly as well, side by side. Like to check them a fair bit. Now time to do the bottom. They're 123. You just do them like before. You go like a star pattern. Now when you're swiveling this around as well, you just got to make sure you don't put the steering stops onto your felts and damage them. Alright, it's pretty good, it's been preloaded. I'm going to do the gaskets on the back. So the first goes in is a metal ring. I'll put the little split up the top. You pop him in. Then the gasket, the rubber gasket with the lip facing towards the felt. And then you can put the felt in. Easy to start off with the bottom one. That lip there on the outer goes facing outwards, and you got the lip facing inwards. Other way around. That lip facing outwards and that lip facing inwards. Right, so what you want to do is put it through, rest it up so you don't actually get it onto the, there we go, up onto the seal that we put in just before. Alright, is in. Alright, now just time to pack that full of grease. Alright, I've got a gasket on there already. You can see I've got two little exhaust studs in there as well. That's just to hold everything in place. I've got the spindle all cleaned up. So I'm just going to put a bit of grease in here. And give this a bit of a grease. Well, I'm not meant to actually get it there. So just giving the little roller bearings a bit of grease. The grease up along here. A little bit of grease here. And make sure your buttholes line up, not like what I just did. Grab your U-gasket. Put him on. Now that little hole up the top here should go there. Yep. Go along and just put all these bolts in. Alright, I've got the torque rate set to 46.6 Newton meters. Would help if I put the right socket on. Just pulling out the seal now. Usually tear it up a bit. There we go. That's the seal out. Chuck him over the side. There's the old bearing. So I'm just knocking the racers out now. I've already knocked one out. Whenever you're doing anything like this, make sure you put them on a block of wood so you don't damage your threads. Better than the concrete. So you've got little notches in here. See, there, and they're the same just below. All you do is use a brass punch, put it on the corner of it, give it a couple of whacks, find the other one, give it a couple of whacks, I usually do it in like a star formation. She's out. So there's the race there. Right, so I've got that's the U bearing race. All this is nice and clean. Pop him in there, sit him on there. And then what I'm going to do is tap it in. I've got a old bearing race that I've actually cut a little notch out of it, so as it goes in, it closes in. You can get it out easy. Try to get them in as evenly as possible. Feels a little way, just give it a little. Just to make sure she's in all the way. Now you can just pull that out. The bearing in, sit it into place. Not quite in square. Here when it goes in all the way, just give it a bit of a feel. It's uniformed, which it is. First of all, put the bearing back in. Got him seated in there alright. Then put in the flat washer. This one's got like a little bit going in that goes towards the bearing. So I got him in. Next one will be the lock. Is the nut. It's got a little bit of a indentation there that goes towards the car. These ones are always a bit tricky. Now to preload it, it's 58.8
or 43.
You want to kind of spin the rotor as well. Now, after you do that, you want to spin it a fair few times. Spin it again after you back it off. What was it, Cal?
43 meters or 36 feet.
Hope you guys heard that. It will be in the video anyway, I'll put it up there for you. I tighten it up again. Spin it. There's no movement whatsoever there. I will be checking these again anyway very shortly, just to make sure. You got your locking tab, as I said earlier, you got to bend these over, and then the nut again with the groove goes towards the car. Alright, so now we're doing this one up. What was the torque again, Cal?
Good question.
Alright, now it's just got to bend the little tabs over. So you can just use a screwdriver. bent over. This one, just pull it towards you. Get started. Alright, so it's the morning after. I didn't get it all quite done last night. Started getting a bit dark and a bit mildewy, so I decided to pull the pin. Haven't got much to do. All I have to do is put the locking mechanism on and take off the brake line. So I might as well get into it. I'll get rid of this cover. Oh, also got to put the ABS sensor in as well. Alright, so we get started. Bit of grease around there. Just a smear pretty much. A decent smear. Like that. Just a little bit of grease in here as well. On the other side. Right, so your gasket's on. Now we're putting this on. Give him a bit of a clean up. Right, when you're putting that on, you can see these little holes here. They line up to the dowel, so you just got to line them up. You got the two dowels here. Just got to line them up. Sometimes it helps to spin the hub a little bit just to line the spindles. Right, here's on. A 14mm socket. Here's the tricky bit. I said it earlier at the beginning of the video. Don't get the Circlip pliers that are round like these. You need like a flat edge ones. Makes it a lot more easier. Yep, got her in. What I did is I held the Circlip there, use these, pushed them out and just once you pop it in, I just use a screwdriver to seat them into place, which you'll see them just pop. Just did, it's locked in. Okay, so I'll just put a little bit of grease in there. Just cleaning up this edge here. I'm going to put a new gasket on. It came in the kit, so why not? That one's still good. I'll use that one as a spare, just in case I break one. Clean up the outer edge of that. Then you got these little notches here and little notches in there. You just got to line them up. It is a bit easier. My mechanic's already left a mark here, so that's on. There's your little tungsten line here. Before you take it off, it does make your life a little bit easier later on. I'll grab the nuts for that. Okay, last step I have to do before I put the wheel on is just put my ABS sensor back in. I'm just going to give him a light little spray and a bit of a clean up before I pop him in. So how this pretty much works, on the back of the hub you'll see a little ridged area, and this has a little magnet in it. It picks up those little ridges. When it doesn't pick them up, I believe that's when your ABS kicks in. It just pops in down here on the side. Little 10mm nut. And you got the bracket just up here. That's 13, I think, by memory. Alright, he's nice and snug. The only thing left to do is put the tyre on, and that's it. Job done. Alright, so it's been about a month that I've done the swivel hubs. Haven't had any problems, which is obviously a good sign. I've even done one trip up in the high country doing a bit of a snow trip, which will come up soon, so keep a lookout for that one. Just a little bit of a talk about a couple of things. First thing is a bit of safety. Always make sure you chock up your wheels, and obviously when you jack it up, have jack stands underneath your car, and also chuck the tyre underneath there as well, just in case it does drop. You got a little bit of protection while you're kind of underneath there working. That's the first thing out of the way. Second thing is special tools that you'll probably need to use. Some of these you don't have to have, but it's always good to make life a little bit easier having the right tool for the job. First one there is a seal puller. You can pick these up from TOLEDO Tools. I think they're around about 25 bucks, around about there. They do make it a lot easier to pull out the seals and that. Also at the start you've got a little Circlip there as well. These are Circlip pliers, but they are rounded ends. As I mentioned in the video, you can get flat ones that make your life a lot more easier, so I definitely would recommend getting a pair of flat ones. You can use 2 screwdrivers, but you'll be sitting there piss floating around for a while. Right, this one's pretty important. A front hub socket, 54mm is for the Landcruisers. You can pick these up from 4-wheel drive shops, or again even TOLEDO Tools. Just make sure when you do get one, make sure you don't go the 3/8 little ratchet. Get a 1/2 inch one. I did discover this one while I was undoing it. The inside here, it's got a little welded, like a washer, thick washer welded on there, and also the 3/8 square size. It has actually busted a bit, so what my plan is to just get a 3/8 to 1/2 inch and just weld it on there, so there's no use buying another tool when you've already got one. It's pretty handy as well. It has got little holes through it, so you can actually put a breaker bar through there to crank it. That second nut can be very tight. When you get it all disassembled and that, and you pull out your bearing races, what you can do is you can cut a little slit just in there with a grinder on both of them, and you can use that to actually knock your bearing races back in. At least that way when it goes in, it will compress into that little gap, and you'll be able to pull out with your fingers rather than getting yourself into a little bit of mischief. Something else that some of the other videos didn't really go into is torque wrench. You can pick these up for underneath 100 bucks these days. They're not overly too expensive. I did go by the manual for torque specs, only because it is the front end of the car, and obviously taking out 4-wheel driving, I didn't really want to lose a wheel or, you know, be pretty much up shit creek. Another little tool that I bought was, I bought a 3-pack of these brass strips from TOLEDO Tools. I think they were about 40 bucks, and you use these mainly just to put on the stud and whack it with a hammer just to knock out those little cone washers, and it also helps to get it underneath it. Also with the bearing races, it makes it a little bit, you can use them as well. For the knuckle ones, I did actually get a from Super Cheap. I think it was around about 40 bucks as well. That was a tool to actually knock in seals and bearing races. But as I said, with most of them, wherever I could, I was using the old bearing races that I cut the slit into. Right, as for greases, I use the PENRITE MOLY grease. You use these inside the actual knuckle of the swivel hub, and that's the grease that you see that comes through on the other side of your swivel hubs. That's also good for your CVs as well, which I'll show you how to pack those in a minute. The other grease that I used was PENRITE wheel bearing grease. That, where you got the actual rotor, you got the 2 bearings in there, that's the grease that you actually use for that. So this one's more of a grey colour, and the other wheel bearing grease is blue colour, so you see that in the different greases in the video. Packing it's still the same. You grab a clump in your hand and you kind of rub it in like that, and you'll see it come through like spaghetti, like Vegemite on enchiladas as you squeeze them. As you would have heard me say in the video as well, I replaced my CVs. I had one noisy CV, so I decided to actually do both of them. Total price for that was $526, and I just got those from TAMER. For the swivel hub rebuild kit, that's the kit there. I've got some of the old parts in there that I keep as spares. The part number for my 79 series, which is pre-DPF, I'm not sure there's a difference between them. I know there's a difference between ABS and non-ABS, But the part number for the ABS pre-DPF is SH9WB. Alright, so that's one of my old CVs that I pulled out. As you can see, I wrapped it even though it was a bit noisy. Now, if I get a bit closer, you can actually see as I move it in here, you can see like the grease coming out where the ball joint is. So, laying it up so you can see it. So what you want to do when you're repacking these is get a clump of the MOLY grease and put it in there. You want to be able to push it in to there. It's a bit hard to show you. You want to be able to push it in to there, and you should see it starting to pop out through here. So it's like a bigger version of the, so it's popping out just through here as I keep on putting grease in there. Overall, really wasn't that much of a hard job to do. It did actually take me, I think, about three and a half days to actually do it. A lot of the time, obviously being on the floor, jacking up the car and doing one side and then the other side, did take a bit of time. I did start pretty late on most of the day. Typical being a night shift worker, I usually find it pretty hard to get up and start to get motivated to actually get all this stuff done in the morning. Would actually be a lot more easier doing it actually up on a hoist. So you're actually working around about this height rather than being on your knees on the ground. The yoga mat, if you are working on the ground, definitely does help out a lot. I actually haven't got any mechanical experience doing anything like this. Obviously I've put up videos where I've done my brake boosters and done a service and that's a basic repair, nothing really this heavy, and I still manage it quite fine. As long as you've got the basic set of tools and a couple of those other tools that I showed you, it definitely does make your life easier. Also, I researched the hell out of it on YouTube. I actually downloaded the Toyota manual and actually read through all the specs there as well. That definitely did help me. A good reference guide that I found pretty handy was TROOPY Tech on YouTube. He's based in Bacchus Marsh and he's got a couple of videos on Swivel hub rebuilds on the 70 series, so that definitely did help me out, and I actually did get stuck and he was only too happy enough to give me out information to actually help me out as well. You can buy terrain tamer products through him as well. Anyway, if you like this video, it's a bit of a long one, sorry. Give me a thumbs up, leave a comment. If you've got any questions or if you've seen anything that I should have done differently, definitely let me know. And yeah, give me a subscribe. I'll catch you on the next one.